Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show. I, of course, am he, Mr. Warren Hayes, and it is Thursday night. It is the last Thursday of April of the year of our Lord, 2021. And tonight we are going to be talking about professional wrestling. That's what we do here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show every Thursday night. We record live, if you didn't know already, on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's not just like your run-of-the-mill podcast where you have a couple of people behind a microphone and they're twiddling with their buttons and they're doing this with their mics. Then fiddling with the buttons and then making the microphones sound like that. Yeah. And then they edit it out because then they realize that, man, it's annoying as fuck. So I'm gonna try and stop here. And that's what we're gonna be doing. That's what we do here, and I record it live. So everything that happens is unedited. It is straight out the horse's mouth. It is cuckoo crazy. Right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. So, hey, if you can ever make it on a Thursday night, that's awesome because, then you can not only get to see the happenings happening live, but then you also get to join a very elite group of people who join me on Thursday evenings to chat about pro wrestling, to hang out and have a good time as I rant and rave about this thing that we like so much, which is professional wrestling. Such as, look at this, Kelly Tonhes, who's here. How you doing, Kelly? Want to give shout out Robert Larry as well. Good to see you, Robert. There, William Davis. Hey-oh, indeed, good to see you. We got Mr. Fretz in the chat as well. Good to see you, Fretz. Justin Firestein. We've got Phantom Mark 82, our boy Ben, who, if you do come live, you get to hear Ben's awesome tracks that he graciously donates to me, and I sincerely appreciate it. So that's another thing, is he can preview Ben's awesome music. And if you would like to hear more of Ben's music, his link is in the description to his YouTube channel. So check that out. Subscribe today. It is indeed awesome. Let's see. So we got William and Ben. I talked about already. We've got we have fifth generation Carney is here as well. Joseph with it. Good to see you. The Streak Saver is here too. And he lived up to his name again this week. DGMC is here as well. Ladies and gentlemen, what a great group. Fantastic group of people who are joining us live here on the YouTube channel. And hey, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. And if you're enjoying this already, do consider giving the video a thumbs up. That stuff really, really does help out a great deal. And we can also keep the comment streak going here on YouTube as well. If we're up to 4 consecutive videos that have more than 20 comments on them, and we're looking to hit 20 consecutive videos with 20 comments, so that we'll get another streak reward. I watched Goldberg at 54 not too long ago. As a reward, there's going to be something good at the end of this. So 20 comments on the next 20 videos. Let's make it happen, folks. Let's keep that streak going. So that is also very cool. So those are ways to support. The likes, the comments, and if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, by the way, thank you very much for doing so. Do consider giving the video a like, a thumbs up there, or not a like, but a subscription, a review. Reviews are cool. I appreciate any kind of little tidbits of help that you can do there as well. And thank you very much for allowing me to insert myself into your ears. How about that? Want to say, of course, to continue checking out belltobells.com. That's BELLTOBELLEES. I conducted 2 interviews this week for Bell to Bells. 2 fantastic women's wrestlers, Charlie Cruel, which is one I just conducted today, up-and-coming indie star who will be very, very active this week, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. And also the Zello Pro Women's Champion, Lainey Luck, is also an interview that I conducted earlier this week over on Bell to Bell. So you want to check those out. And why did I conduct these interviews? Because Zello Pro this weekend is coming back with a brand new show May 1st. Their first show since last fall, last October. So it's really, really exciting. Their show is called WrestleFest. It is May 1st, this Saturday it's going to, by any chance you're in the Milwaukee area, go check it out. It's at the Turner Hall Ballroom, which is a fantastic venue. Go check that out. Otherwise, on Fight TV, listen, this is what you're going to be getting. And on Fight TV as well, you can check this out. And it's going to be a fantastic card. Check this out. They're going to be the main event, the big draw, the big thing. Zelo Pro champion. They're going to crown their very first Zelo Pro champion. I did the match reveal here, the card reveal, a couple of weeks ago. And we saw the title. We got a premiere here. Beautiful stuff. Mason Conrad. These are the people who are going to be in this in the 6-man ladder match. It's a ladder match. I'll get to it. I'm using words. Mason Conrad, CJ Esparza, Robert Eagle Anthony, sans Frank the Clown, which is always a big selling point. The King of Filth, Brubaker, GPA, and Bryce Benjamin are all going to be involved in this match. Fantastic stuff. That's going to be exciting as hell. We got Lainey Luck, who's going to defend her Zelo Pro Women's Championship against Jordan Grace. That's right, former Knockouts champion, currently one half of the Knockouts tag champions over there on Impact. There's also going to be a number one contenders triple threat match for the women's title between Missa Kate, Blair Onyx, and Hyann. Got Joey Jet Avalon versus Big John Crowley, which is going to slap like something ridiculous. Colt Cabana is also going to be on the card. He's going to be taking on Trevor Outlaw, and Charlie Cruel, who I interviewed today. Delightful person. Is going to be taking on the Queen Bee, Brooke Valentine. So check that out this weekend. Zelo Pro Wrestling, May 1st. Again, Milwaukee, go live if you can do it. If not, Fight TV is going to be your hookup. Be sure to be there. Join us in the Discord. The Discord is always awesome. Link is in the description per usual. Tonight is the very last post show that I'm going to do for the patrons, because as of next week, the Warren is Off the Clock post stream is going to be for YouTube members. So people who subscribe, not just subscribe, who are members of the MrWarrenHayes Show YouTube channel will be able to join into the post show afterwards once we're done. So here's the thing. You can, starting next week, if you become a member, not only do you get the emojis that are awesome when you come and join us live, but then we sit around afterwards and we talk wrestling for an extra added amount of time starting next week with the patrons. But tonight we're going to wrap it up on the patron side. We're going to pour one out on that level, and starting next week, brand new adventures with the YouTube members right here. So that'll be exciting. And do consider becoming a member. A lot more stuff on the way. It'll be a fun time. And of course, you can always drop us a super chat whenever you like, and I will read your question or comment live and on the air. I'm going to take a sip of water here before we go on to the big attraction, the main event. Let's get right to it. The weekly wrestling inspection. Oh, hello. Here we are again, and let's get to it. Let's start with some cool beans as we go back to last Friday, specifically on the New Japan front. Over on New Japan Strong, we had a big thing, a big to-do. It was the end of the New Japan Cup USA 2021. It was the finals that were happening there. We had Brody King and Filthy Tom Lawlor, who were in the finals to not only win the cup, but to become the very first New Japan Strong openweight champion. Brand new title, and clearly set up for the American side of things. I thought that I was behind the idea from the get-go, thought it was a good idea, and this is what we got. And the first champion was crowned on Friday. Tom Lawlor ended up defeating Brody King. Physical, brawling beatdown. I liked it. Kind of match which really is entirely up my alley. Like, this was two guys just going straight at each other. And and a great build. You know, just one of these builds where they're just wailing into each other, and you know you're watching something special when a superplex looks like a match-ending move. Brody King hits a superplex, and I'm like, the match is over. Like, at this point, if they had done it like within the first 5 minutes, you know, it wouldn't have generated the same feeling. But they built it so well, got to that point so fantastically that I was like, holy shit, this is a good professional wrestling match. And Tom Lawlor was highly deserving of this of that big win. Anyway, he had a great game plan from the get-go, right? Like, first and foremost, he had because at first he was working on Brody King's legs, but then he had an opportunity where he started working on the hands as well. It was, you know, just some great psychology. Like, he went in with a game plan, adapted it as he was going along to make sure that Brody King had no advantages on him, couldn't use his strength, couldn't use any power moves, couldn't use any brawling techniques. But this made me think at some point that, okay, well, Lawlor is going to lose because he's just all over the place with all these with him taking over, you know, all of Lawlor's limbs and so on and so forth. I'm like, he's going to lose. Turns out, no. You know, I got completely kerfuffled on that one. There were German suplexes, there were pile drivers, there were cattle mutilations, there was Shibata PKs. I mean, Lawlor got Brody to tap out. Fantastic, fun brawl, and great to see New Japan leaning harder into Strong as their North American show. I love it, given it its own title. I think it's great. And then his being Lawlor's first challenger is going to be Chris Dickinson. That's going to be something. It's going to be a wild one, folks. It's going to be wacky, wild. Okay, I'll stop now. So that was it. But I thought it was a really good match. I had a lot of fun, and it's good stuff. Good stuff all around. Impact Rebellion happened as well this week. If we move on to Sunday before we start talking about WWE proper, just some quick thoughts. I thought, here on, let me check. I thought it was an okay show, but it mostly left me indifferent. I thought the opening match for the X Division title, Josh Alexander defeating Ace Austin and TJP in a 3-way for the title, was right up until the main event. I think it was my favorite match of the show. And it was a good idea to put the title on Josh Alexander, who's been fantastic for Impact. I think it was a good way to show him off as being, I think it was a good idea to show him off as being, what's the word I'm looking for? Being a proper singles guy, if you want. Now that he's split up from Ethan Page, I think it was a good idea for him to be broken away like that, and you know, just to break him away and then give him a singles title to sort of legitimize his singles run at this point. It was a good match. It was a lot of fun. Kind of excited for X Division championships to no longer just be like multi-man matches, though. Seems to me that every pay-per-view that we've had in the past few months for the X Division title has always, you know, it's been multi-man matches, triple threats, so on and so forth. I mean, I get it, and it's exciting, and so, but at the same time, you also, you know, there's also nothing that can compare to a really, really good singles match between two outstanding people, right? So anyway, but I'm really happy that Josh Alexander won. I think it was the good decision. Violent by Design and W. Morrissey defeated Chris Sabin, Eddie Edwards, James Storm, and Willie Mack in an 8-man tag team match. who is this W. Morrissey? You tell me, you ask, you wonder, you say, hey, Warren. I say, yes, who is the W. Morrissey? I say, thank you for asking, and why am I emulating your accent? I don't know, perhaps you are doing this to make me feel comfortable? I hope that is a fair assessment, yes. Formerly known as Big Cass in the WWE, or Kaz XL, W. Morrissey is now our man in Impact, and apparently he signed for a while, so that's also exciting. Good for him. He looked great, and you know, he's had a bunch of struggles. They're well documented. I hope this is a good turning point for him, and I hope that Impact is going to be a strong, positive environment for him as well. To get back on his feet, because you don't want people to. Yeah, I don't want people to just wither away and into nothingness. So I'm good with this. I was glad to see him. It was a good surprise. It was a legitimate surprise to see him there. W. Morrissey, yes, and not to be confounded with former lead singer of the Smiths. So yeah, there you go. We had, but the match was okay. Was really overshadowed by the surprise, but it was, frankly, it was a little bit all over the place. If you're asking your boy, kind of how I feel. Then we had Brian Myers defeating Matt Cardona. Okay. I mean, it was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. It's just like, I guess you know how sometimes I ponder and I wonder, I say, about WWE pay-per-views where I'm like, does the WWE really need all the build-up if we get to the pay-per-view and people deliver awesome matches? And then and I'm kind of on the fence on that. It's like, is the build-up necessary to the pay-per-view, to the blow-off match? And I kind of looked at this and this match is one of those that keeps me on the fence on that type of thought process, because I didn't follow the storyline between Cardona and Myers, so I don't know what was going on with these guys right up until commentary sort of weaved the story, and I was like, all right, but it didn't excite me, it didn't get me. But I mean, there was nothing wrong with it. It's just something that happened. Jordynne Grace and Rachel Ellering defeated Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz to become the new Impact Knockouts Tag Team Champions. Rachel Ellering, and they were also accompanied, Grace and Ellering, by legendary women's wrestler Jazz, who is acting as a manager type for them, and I'm okay with that. Ellering had been announced earlier in the week as the partner for Jordynne Grace. Cool. I don't think this match was anything great. Quite unfortunately, it always breaks my heart to talk about that kind of stuff, but I kind of think it was the weakest match of the show. Trey Miguel defeated Sami Callihan in a last man standing match. It was fine. I always think last man standing matches that last under 20 minutes, I find, are always like a bit of they feel rushed. I have trouble buying into it. But he did it. Wasn't bad. Was a fun match. Finn Juice defeated the Good Brothers to retain the Impact World Tag Team Championship. This, to me, proves once again that the New Japan tag situation is woefully inadequate and does not highlight the tag teams in the way that they should, because Finn Juice, since WrestleMania week, they have won me over. I think they do great work. Why are they unable to shine like this in their home promotion of New Japan? It just blows my mind. To me, it's just indicative that New Japan doesn't give a shit about their tag teams. That they're just there because they have to be there, kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know what the motivation is, but that's kind of how I see it. This was a fun match. I thought it was really entertaining. It was good stuff. Deonna Purrazzo defeated Tennille Dashwood. to retain the Knockouts championship. So again, I thought this was a good match. The thing with Tenille Dashwood is the thing with Tenille Dashwood is that I think she I think people I think she has a proper amount of hype where people people think that she's a really good wrestler when in fact she's okay. And this is not a knock on her. I just think that she was I think she was always an okay wrestler, never mind-blowingly great. And I think there's a lot of people who feel like she's really, really special. And again, I don't want to sound condescending. It's just this was the match that I expected out of her, and we got it, and it's fine. And I think I think Deonna on top of that is like Deonna Purrazzo is probably one of the best wrestlers out there right now, and I include her in with the men. She's absolutely fantastic. I don't think anyone has the ground game, the technical savvy that she does. She really is a genius at this. It was a bit of a mismatch, if you ask me. And then after the match, Taylor Wilde, former TNA wrestler, appeared to sort of lay down a gauntlet to Deonna. So, hey, I want a piece of that title thing you've got there. But very cool. I mean, glad to see Taylor Wilde back. She hasn't wrestled since 2011. After I think she did a few dates for the NWA. Hard to say where she's at right now, because she hasn't been around for about a decade. But pretty cool. Good to see her back. Let's see where this leads. And of course, the main event happens. Kenny Omega, the AEW champion, defeated Rich Swann, the Impact champion, to win both titles, the Impact World Championship and the AEW World Championship. Kenny Omega has the belts, folks. He came in saying, I'm the belt collector. And what did he did? He said, I'm collecting belts. So he's got 3 titles right now. Now 3 is okay. The match was good. I thought it was. I don't think it was as great as a lot of people raved about it. That's fine. Again, these are all my very, very personal opinions. I think the guys blew a couple of big cornerstone spots, which probably would have helped justify a lot of the selling that our boy Rich Swann was doing later on in the match. Was like he's overselling a little bit, but I think there really were a couple of high spots that were that didn't quite connect. Let's put it that way. But I mean, look, now we're starting to talk about the real deal here. We're starting to talk about, we've got 3 belts. Kenny Omega's got 3 belts lined up on him right now. Now it's starting to feel like a thing. 2 belts, sure, but 3, okay. Now we're cooking. Now we're cooking with gas at this point, right? You sort of buy more into the you sort of buy more into the belt collector thing. Now it's starting to take shape. Now you're like, okay, what's next? It starts to make a lot of sense to me. The AEW World Championship, the AAA Mega Championship, the Impact World Title. And I don't know, this is the one thing that I tweeted out after the match was done is like, I don't know how you can't be excited. I don't know how you can't be excited for this kind of cross-promotional stuff going on. This type of intertwining, cross-promotional, overseas, it's really exciting, uncharted stuff. It's starting to feel like a big deal. And I've seen the people going, this isn't going to work. Why isn't it going to work? Why wouldn't it? What is it because wrestling fans are excited about it? Is it a bad thing to sort of like get is it a bad thing to get the fans excited about a wrestling product? Because there's a lot of people who are into this. There's a lot of people, and the prospect of all this cross promotion is even more like it's creating bridges and possibilities that we didn't think were possible. And look, we're getting, okay, I'm going to talk about it right now. I'm going to talk about Mox and Nagata, John Moxley and Yuji Nagata. That was announced. Well, we knew that match was coming. It's been announced for a while that the match it has been coming down the line. But it was announced last night on Dynamite that John Moxley and Yuji Nagata were going to fight for the IWGP US title on AEW television. We're getting that match in North America for free on TV. So yes, the match was previously announced, but we're getting it on AEW on TV. Now, I can't stress enough how much of a big deal that is. And that's exciting. We've already, we've had Kenta pop up. So, I mean, they're letting some things happen. They're letting some doors open, and the ideas of the idea of all these promotions working together, promoting their talent, promoting their brands, there's nothing bad about this. Not as a fan. Now, if your first gut instinct is, well, Yuji Nagata, he's old now, he's 53 years old, and maybe this isn't putting New Japan's best foot forward. They should have put Kazuchika Okada, and you're not entirely wrong, right? Excuse me. Like, if this is going to be the first exhibition for a New Japan star on North American television for a lot of people, coming in, swinging out the gate with an older guy who, hey, he can still go and he can still kick some massive ass. And I think he is a perfect opponent for John Moxley. But I mean, he's past his prime. He's not Kazuchika Okada or Kota Ibushi. I can get behind that. But if that's your first instinct, I think you're missing the point. I think you're missing the point, and you're focusing too much on the business aspect of it. Where, yeah, sure, it's fun to sit around and ponder and posit about, oh, well, what will this mean for the future of relations, and what's New Japan getting out of this? What's AEW getting out of it? All very, very interesting questions. But man, sometimes I think we forget that we're fans. I think that we forget that we're in this because we love this stuff. We love to be surprised. We love to get excited about shit. And I think it's okay to get excited about this first and foremost, and then take a step back and like, wow, is 53-year-old Yuji Nagata a good idea to put on TV, on American television in North America as maybe someone's first exposure to New Japan? And I think that's a super legitimate question. But if that's your gut reaction, then either you work in the business, which is fine, and I think that makes a lot of sense, or you're just completely missing the point. And I think there's a lot of people who are missing the point here. And the point is this is cool. It's cool shit. It's exciting. It's fun. We've been imprisoned with one vision of professional wrestling for 2 decades. Why wouldn't we be able to move on and say, look, we're just trying shit out. We're trying to make it exciting again. Why couldn't we just get behind this? It's really just that simple.
Yeah.
For me, like, I know that, the Forbidden Door is a meme now. It's, we laugh about it at this point, but let's not talk about doors. Let's talk about breaking down some walls. That's what it feels more like these days. Anyway, a couple of super chats, and I'm going to circle back to keep talking about Kenny Omega, but a couple of super chats that make that are connected to what I'm saying here. First of all, from Anakin JMT, thank you very much, Anakin, for the super chat. He says, just had Kenta on Dynamite 2 months ago too. Exactly. This is exciting stuff. We see Kenta show up and we're like, oh my God. You'll always have people be like, I don't know who he is. Hey, hey, he couldn't cut it in the big leagues in WWE. Like, you'll always have those. But then you can also choose to be really excited about this stuff as well, and I think that's okay. Thank you, Anakin. And DGMC left us a super chat as well. Thank you very much, DGMC. Appreciate it. It says, poor souls watching Mox versus Nagata. Hey, it's that Japanese guy that got squashed by Goldberg. Yes, because in the 90s, New Japan and WCW had a working relationship, and they did feed Yuji Nagata to Bill Goldberg. Yeah. And you know what? If anyone is watching that match, Mox and Nagata, and are like, oh yeah, he got squashed by Goldberg, if anyone does say that, like just out of memory and really affects their appreciation of what's going on, I don't know what to say. That's beyond anything I can. It's beyond salvation. Anything I can do to help. But thank you very much for the super chat, DGMC. I appreciate it. But coming back to Kenny Omega and this excitement here, Kenny Omega's getting all the belts. It's ruining the other promotions. It's ruining everything. Everything is ruined. You're trying shit out, and then everything is instantly ruined. When people are legitimately excited about this. And I think that one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that every belt that Kenny Omega wins, Kenny Omega has to lose. Right? And that is going to be part of the story. What all the titles he has, he is eventually going to have to lose them. That's the circle. That's how things go. So the question eventually becomes, who does he lose the titles to? Who is going to be made? Who is going to be able to tuck under their wing? I beat Kenny Omega for this title. I won it back for my promotion. That's a fucking baby face right there. You have the potential to make stars. And again, I have people say, well, you could just relinquish them. Oh, absolutely. So this is a litmus test to a degree here. This is a moment where eventually when Kenny Omega is at a point where he has to start dropping the titles, is he going to do it legitimately and put people over, get people to win and get one over him and help create new stars? Or is he just going to relinquish them and free them up, right? Like, what is going to be the next step? And that's something that I personally am going to be keeping my eye on, because I don't know. Well, actually, this is what I feel. Gut instinct. I feel like Kenny is going to do the right thing and drop all of them, because that's always been part of his promise to change the world, loving the business. He's a huge star. I think he has enough brain matter to not buy into his hype and be like, look, I have to help create the next generation on top of that. I have to create new stars. I need to create people who are going to succeed after me. I think he gets that. Now, is he going to do, and these are things that he's promised, change the world and all. So this is put your money where your mouth is, Kenny. This is one of these moments where you're like, I'm going to be paying attention. to what's going to happen next. Because if he does just vacate the titles, I will be highly disappointed. Because then no one gets the rub off of all of this. It's all Kenny, and no one gets a good payoff out of this. DGMC left us a super chat. Thank you very much. He says, Omega's keeping the Impact belt warm for Swinger. Yeah, sure. Excited to see that. Anakin JMD left us a super chat as well. Thank you very much, Anakin. He says he's figured out how Omega gets a WWE belt. Tony Khan drafts Triple H to the Jaguars, wins the Super Bowl. WWE sends custom belt. You're welcome, DGMC. That was directly directed. It addressed you, DGMC, in the chat. Thank you very much for that. So there you go. The Impact Rebellion, like I said, I think it was an okay show. I think there were some very I think it was bookended by very good matches. I think the rest in the middle is kind of up and down. Oh, him, not Triple H? Well, you put H. I thought you meant Triple H. All right, let me reread it. I figured out, I'll reread the super chat. I figured out how Kenny Omega gets the WWE belt. TK drafts him to the Jaguars, wins the Super Bowl. WWE sends a custom belt. There you go. Regardless of Omega winning, like, that's something I never really thought about. Like, when the Jacksonville Jaguars, because it'll happen eventually, right? They'll win a Super Bowl at some point. And when they do, the WWE will have to send them a replica belt, right? And you know it's going to end up on a BTE thing. Oh, God. You know what? I think from this point on, let's make it official. Mark your calendars. April 29, 2021. MrWarrenHayes is officially a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. He will support the Jaguars to win the Super Bowl. Just for that. This is exactly what I want. I had never posited that WWE are, oh my God. Or do you think like they'll send the replica and then Vince will call up TK and say, hey pal, so we're going to send you a title, but there's a caveat. And TK will be like, a caveat? What do you mean, Vince? And Vince is like, you just can't use it on your skits. You know, you can't use it on those skits. Okay, Vince, you got it, man. Let's talk about the opening segment of SmackDown. Now, I can understand, to a degree, of course, that when you put on a 3-hour show, hey, Injection 2K, good to see you in AK Germany 96. Good to see you, fellows, you friends, you pals, you chums, you buds, you well-wishers. Good to see you. Welcome to the chat. Now, okay, so I can understand that you'd want to pad a 3-hour show, right? Like on Monday nights. Not saying padding is good, especially when you have a deep roster of people and you could be putting on matches with all of them every week. But I can understand at some point you're like, we need to pad in the show a little bit. Okay. But a 2-hour show, when you've got nothing but amazing talent, why would you start it off with a 15-minute segment to set up a tag team match? Why does it take us 15 minutes to lead us into a tag match, folks? Now, the WWE faithful, bless your hearts, will tell me you need to set up a story. This is how you do storytelling. This is professional wrestling. It's not War and Peace. But no, like it's not Shakespeare. It's not James Joyce. It's not William Faulkner. It's not Dante. It's not Albert Camus. It's not Scott F. Fitzgerald. It's not even fucking Adam Moore. Shout out to anyone who gets that joke. It's pro wrestling. We get it. People come to the ring to say, I don't like you, I want to fight you for whatever reason, and then they go for it. 15 minutes to set up a tag team match is ridiculous. And it can be done quicker. Do you know why I know it can be done quicker? Because AEW Dynamite does it every week. They set up feuds with a fraction of the time. Why? Because they let the wrestling do the talking. But this is, I'm talking about what happened on SmackDown. It's a problem on all of WWE programming now. Yes, Raw, same thing. But on NXT this week, there was a 20-minute stretch from the finishing bell to one match to the starting bell of another one. There was 20 minutes where there was nothing going on. Just promos and talks and commercials. Well, Warren, they have to have their commercials, otherwise, how are they going to make money? They did picture-in-picture during the first match, and they can do picture-in-picture whenever they want. But there was 20 minutes where there was no wrestling happening on NXT. A promotion, a brand, that WWE developed to give the work rate freaks the place where they could watch the work rate so that they could just tune in to watch wrestlers wrestle. That's always what NXT was about. Strip away all of the long convoluted storylines and the big endless promos, and you just stick to it. Stick to this. Stick to the wrestling. Now I get it, and I get it. I really do. And people in the chat have even pointed it out. Warren, it's sports entertainment. Warren, they're a media company. You're expecting too much wrestling from a media company. And this is nothing new to me. I've been talking about this for years, that WWE perceives itself as a media company, not a wrestling promotion. This has been going on I've been talking about this pretty much since I've started, and was 3 years ago at this point? 4? I've been maintaining the same thing, and I'm not going to change my tune here, but I don't watch media. We're a media company, but I don't watch media. I watch entertainment. Who watches media? Do you sit down and you're like, hey, I'm going to watch some media? Sit down. You're sitting down to watch WWE because even though they can spin the words as much as they want, the basis, the backbone is still wrestling. They're wrestlers. But I think so even when you sit around and they're a media company, but still, the media company has to produce something interesting that will get people interested in the product. Disney's a media company, but they put out stuff that people want to watch, and people do watch it, and they're not sitting around going well, Jesus Christ, how come there hasn't been any superheroes in my Marvel movie for the first 45 minutes of the, it's it doesn't happen, But I think I've cracked the code. Because, what you always wonder is how does WWE get away making so much money with such a shit product? But I think this is it. They've tailored the product, WWE, Raw, SmackDown, and they've tailored it for executives, to be watched by executive. Bite-sized, digestible viewings that you can just crunch down into a 3-minute package, so that a high-powered executive who's, who has 18-hour work days and sleeps 3 hours because so busy can watch it, because they're not going to watch 7 hours of wrestling a week, right? And I think this is it. So when they go and sit down with the people at Peacock, they're like, look here, check out what we do. And they have these great highlight reels of huge muscle guys, doing these outrageous things, these feats of strength. And you have these beautiful ladies who are athletic and strong as well. And it's just images, it's impressions, it's literally media. And that I agree with. And I think that's where that's the catch. It's that they're able to shrink it down so that in the mind of an executive, this connects. It works. They're able to see, oh, I get it. And they're doubly going to get it because trust me, all the executives do have power fantasies. So they see like these big muscle men doing muscle men thing, and they're like, oh, holy shit, they relate to this stuff. Sports, it's the same thing with sports figures and sports teams for these executives. It's the same thing because they relate to sport. There's so much sports analogy in corporate situations and setups, especially when you start going into C-level executives. The sports analogies are everywhere. The Office made fun of it in a very good episode, but it's really true. It's all imagery, and it's all imagery that executives can latch onto, that they understand, because it's at its barest and most spectacular form. I really think this is it. I think that's how they figured it out. I think that's how WWE makes money. I really do. Aaron Entertainment, good to see you. Welcome to the chart. But look, at least that 15-minute segment gave us Bryan Cesaro versus Daniel Bryan and Cesaro versus Seth Rollins and Jey Uso, which was a fun match. I thought it was a pretty strong match, actually. And it led us into the angle later on in the evening where Daniel Bryan was basically acting as Cesaro's hype man for the entire duration of Raw, trying to get trying to get Roman Reigns to agree to giving Cesaro a title shot, right? Hyping Cesaro up as a top guy, essentially. But at the end of the show, Daniel Bryan is like, okay, Roman, I've given you all the reasons to fight Cesaro. Are you going to give him his shot, yes or no? And basically Roman is like, nah, son, I'm not giving Cesaro a shot. I want you to have a shot. I'm giving you a shot, Daniel Bryan, at my title. And on top of that, if Daniel Bryan loses the match, he hits the bricks. He leaves SmackDown, never to come back on SmackDown ever again. It's not quite the loser leaves town match that everyone was kind of salivating for, but still, I thought that angle was fun. And again, still pushing Cesaro aside. I don't know how, I'm not quite sure how this is going to work, because I kind of feel like Cesaro is going to join the table. I really do feel like he's going to join the table and double cross Daniel Bryan next week. That's kind of what I feel. And quite frankly, I am completely here for a Daniel Bryan Cesaro feud as well. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. I think that might be a good way to segue into it. Might be really interesting. And what's really interesting on top of it all? It's how well this is all working into Daniel Bryan's unending talk about who I would like to wrestle elsewhere, and all that shit. And if there's one thing that you cannot take away from Daniel Bryan, is that Daniel Bryan understands how to work the smart fans. He understands it. He knows what they want. He knows that he is still very much a darling in the minds of people, and people want to see him have great wrestling matches. And I'm sure deep down inside, he wants to stretch his legs and go get some big wrestling matches elsewhere as well. Like, I am convinced that I'm convinced that him going and doing these interviews and saying, I'd like to fight Darby Allin, I think he sincerely wants that. I really do. But, I am joining a chorus of people saying, Daniel, put your money where your mouth is. Because you've done this to us in the past. You've pulled off this situation here where you go around and you do interviews and you say, you know what? I would love to go to AEW to fight MJF and Jungle Boy and Darby Allin. I'd like to go back to New Japan and fight Kazuchika Okada and Shingo. I'd like to head on back to Ring of Honor where I'm a founding father and tear it up with Jonathan Gresham. And as fans, we're all like, yes, please. But he's done this before. His contract is coming up. He's using this as leverage again. This is the moment, D-Bry, where you have to put your money where your mouth is and be like, all right, I'm hitting the tour. I'm going down to the Indies. I'm heading back to Japan. I'm hitting up the other promotion. And I'm hanging up my boots after that, because he said it himself a couple of times. I don't know how long I'll be able to do this. And I agree, like the Daniel Bryan, the Bryan Danielson, whatever you want to call him, he's always wrestled a very particular style that did severely injure him. And even to this day, we saw it at WrestleMania. There is no one on this planet that wrestles like Daniel Bryan still. There is still no one who completely emulates his style, his physicality, his speed. No one is there. The way he wrestles with such abandonment. That is completely a Bryan Danielson thing, a Daniel Bryan thing. Now, he's not going to be able to do this forever. So we're getting around the time where he's going to be like, okay, well, I have to move on. I have to do something else. And if he wants out, if he wants his true last hurrah from the world of wrestling, Daniel Bryan has to not re-sign by WWE, has to, not re-sign with World Wrestling Entertainment, and then hit the bricks, and then give us all these matches that he's been saying I want to do for the past 4 years. Oh, I'm this close to doing it with the company. I'm this close to I'm trying to push my way towards me working at WWE, but also being able to work this side schedule. Come on, Bryan, fuck off. We're not stupid. At least, I don't know. If it'll happen, I will eat my words. I will eat crow. If WWE re-signs Daniel Bryan, and Daniel Bryan is able to have like a John Moxley contract that will allow him to work such and such territories, which would shock the fuck out of me. Good for him. Good for him, and I will eat crow, and I'll be like, oh, well, this is a turning point in WWE's history. This is a first. But there's something that tells me that WWE does not want this type of precedent. I don't think so. But this is really it. This is it. This is the things, like Daniel Bryan has to do something. And, the whole, I'm leaving, if I lose this match, I leave SmackDown forever. This is it. He's been building towards, this is part of the build. This is part of his work right now. Working the fans, work through his interviews, through, I'll leave SmackDown forever if I leave WWE. Like, this is it. This is the thing. I just want Daniel Bryan to be happy. So whatever he decides to do, it'll be fantastic. And I still think it's funny that people are like, well, he won't leave WWE. He's got a family. It's as if Daniel Bryan, suddenly because Daniel Bryan, not Tucker, right? I'm talking Daniel Bryan will leave WWE and will go back to asking working shows for $50 a night. Get off yourself. It's the funniest excuse, not gonna lie. So Mickie James was on the Grown Ass Women's podcast earlier this week. Talking about, her leaving WWE. I don't know if you've heard about the trash bags. I talked about it last week. And he says, she says, there was a very interesting quote that came out of this. So, and I'll read it verbatim to y'all if you want. Talking about, how difficult it was for her to get any ideas passed through creative. There's anything I've pitched, they weren't into it. I wanted to find a balance in between. There was this moment where I said, what if we do an all-female brand? If I could help lead up that and have an awesome team of women, we have the talent, tools, and facilities, it would really help all the girls who are not getting television time. This one person says to me, oh, they're never going to do it ever. Women's wrestling doesn't make money. WWE Evolution was the lowest rated pay-per-view ever in WWE. I get what you're trying to do, but I don't understand why you're fighting so hard for it. You could play the cards you're dealt with and see if there's a way to incorporate that within a show rather than fight for it to be its own show. And I just realized that every decision they do, a lot of it is business and how it falls in line with business. I'm just disappointed as a whole with being made to feel old with Depends and a Walker and the whole ageism thing. I think we missed out on a lot of moments, and I agree. I think it is a stretch to call Evolution the worst rated. Like that would mean that Evolution would have made, there would have been less than 40,000 people who watched Evolution. Because isn't that TLC 2014 often one of the worst, if not the worst. I know that there was Night of Champions that same year, which, pay-per-view drew, that drew like shit. December to Dismember 2006. Those were all abysmal numbers. I find it hard to believe. Again, this is her hearsay. I don't know if this is factual, if someone actually came up and told her it's the worst drawing pay-per-view of all time. I'm like, no, I don't think so. That would be really, really bad. And we're not talking about quality here. We're talking about numbers. Numbers. I find it hard to believe that less than 50,000 people would have watched Evolution. So what I find really, really interesting, what I find super interesting is that you see here, there's more talk about this non-existent brass ring, right? Where it's always like, go for the brass ring, And she tries to, but it's always like, nah. Anyway, then a few days later, we got Carmella on the Bella Twins podcast, right? And she's bitching about WWE creative. And I'll read her comments verbatim as well. She says, Carmella said, I would sit at home and watch Raw, and it would be 10 p.m. before I would see a woman on the show. It's like This is a 3-hour show. What the hell? Like, if I didn't work at WWE and I was just sitting at home watching, I want to see the women. That's why I tune in. If I'm waiting until 10 p.m. to see a girl, it's like, what the hell? That's not okay for little girls at home or whoever is watching, waiting for the women. I agree. I agree with this. Now, if you think right now that women's wrestling is in a good place, I would tell you, no, it ain't. It's not in a good place right now. WWE doing horrible work. And they've been doing bad work since about November. And you see, Mickie James is talking about evolution. She's talking about putting the women at the forefront. And WWE is pushing back. Carmella's talking about where the hell are the women? And, WWE doesn't seem to care. Now that all the buzzwords have died down, and this was a talking point a couple of years ago, and we were sincerely hoping it wouldn't be that. But the more cynical of us saw it coming. I'm not saying that was me, but they saw it coming, but the buzzwords have all died down. The first time evers have all died down. WWE got that sweet, sweet mainstream media attention from all the great things that they were doing with the women at the time. Now that it's all gone away, it's like now that there's no more first time evers, we're just gonna let everything swish, head on off, drizzle away kind of thing. And does anyone think that women's ratings go up overnight? No, of course they don't. Do you think ratings for any wrestler, when you start breaking down those quarter hours, when you open up the spreadsheets and then you go, let's look at the quarter hours, who was there, what was the overlap? And do you think that any one of those wrestlers, their quarter hours started going up magically? No. The Rock did, especially The Rock, he didn't start as a ratings draw. People were literally chanting, "Die, Rocky, die," when he started, because he had legitimate go away heat. Ratings go up for wrestlers if you give them the time and you treat them like stars. It's really just that simple. If you treat your women, or any wrestler for that point, like a big deal, they will be perceived as one. And I'm just going to use this as a point of comparison as to what WWE's been doing recently. And I'm not saying that AEW has suddenly become the mana-filled oasis of women's wrestling protection all of a sudden. But if the unsanctioned match between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa worked, and if it was a draw, and if people tuned in to watch it, it's because AEW treated it like a big deal. They made it feel important, so they built up to it, made Britt and Thunder Rosa look important in the build up to it, and the match delivered. So that's when you sort of turn around and you're like, well, that's when you start seeing turnarounds for your women's talent, for your women's division. People tune in instead of flipping the channel. It's really just that simple. Right now, I don't see why anyone would be interested about anything in the women's division on Raw right now. I think it's all terrible. And it's not because the women are terrible. And Kristen Ashley, the first lady of the MrWarrenHayes show, who's in the chat right now, earlier this week put out a very succinct but perfect tweet. No one says that a women's division is bad because AEW, WWE, they have the talent. What is bad is how they're booked. It's how they're presented. Right now, even their top women's star, the one woman that they protect over all, Nia Jax, is being made to look like a goof. I don't know how anyone gets behind that kind of shit. Meanwhile, over on SmackDown, you have a legitimate star, someone who everyone got behind, who got really, really excited about the prospect of winning the SmackDown title and the possibilities for new matches and so on and so forth, and they don't know what to do with Bianca. And they don't know what to do with their women's mid-card. Alexa Bliss sitting with a doll, recounting, obscure fairy tales and pulling off, scare tactics from a 2006 YouTube video. It's who thinks anything of this is good? Now, granted, I will say that the creative problem in WWE is not limited to the women. It is a company-wide problem right now, because Raw is a copy-paste formula from week to week. And to a certain degree, do I blame the writers or creative to do a copy-paste week after week of the show? Because 90 minutes to air, you're going to have one blowhard who's going to run in, take the script, tear it apart, and start over again. Like, I don't blame them for doing copy-pastes. Women's wrestling right now on primetime cable television is not in a good place. And WWE is not helping at all. And this is a place where in 2020, they had their women carrying the company on their back. And now they barely know what to do with them, and they don't even... Why the fuck are we pushing Tamina at this point in her career? Tamina has always been dry at best. Now she's had multiple surgeries. She doesn't have a fraction of the mobility she once had, and we're pushing her. We're pushing Natalya because we're afraid she's going to pull out her notes app. What are we doing? And then it's like these 5-minute matches that always end in screw job ending. I don't get it. And what's frustrating is that I think we all want to believe. We want to believe they can do better. But they don't. And they don't let their women shine. They don't let them wrestle. It's all part of the problem. Because they have extremely talented women. They all have very, very extremely talented women. They really do. But they don't let them shine. Again, I don't think I think the problem goes across the board, quite frankly. Like, it's the same thing with the men. But it's doubly frustrating when you focus on the women, the focus that WWE gave themselves with the women and how they were, the women's evolution and so on and so forth. And I feel we're regressing. And is it a coincidence that John Laurinaitis started popping back into the situation? Now I know. Now this is the point that I know I'm going too far. Evan Wright, god damn it. I left us a super chat. Good to see you, Evan, and thank you very much. He says, Tai Conchi versus Shida match went down longer than every SmackDown women's match combined for the month of April. Still one more show, and AEW is ahead by 2 minutes. So yeah, yes. Also, still, like, one match doesn't suddenly make things better, and that's one thing that I don't want to really overemphasize here when I was making comparisons with the lights out match. I don't know why I couldn't think about it. Because you still look at the numbers, you still look at the percentages. The women's matches on Dynamite are still a minimal percentage of what's going on overall in the show, regardless. right now, if you want comparable figures, you have to watch Elevation, which is cool because that is where they showcase most of their women. But again, this circles back to my argument where if you don't make the women feel important, they're not going to come across as important. And I think the best way to make them look and feel important is to put them on your flagship shows. But that's another argument for another time, because right now, like, I don't think women's wrestling is in a really, really cute place right now. But thank you very much, Evan, for your super chat. I want to say hello to Anti-Seth Trollins the Fifth. Welcome to the super chat. And Satanic Toilet. Checking up on me. Thank you very much. I appreciate the concern. Mr. Fantastic is here as well. Good to see you. And Evan Wright left us another super chat. Thank you very much. Holy shit. ELP on Impact next week? Is he? Oh, he's going to super kick the shit out of everyone. That was announced tonight? That was announced tonight on Impact? ELP, my man. I love it. I've been talking a lot about WWE. I just want to say really quickly, I'm going to pull off some stuff really quickly. Aleister Black got some promos. Wait, I'm going to cool beans this because I think that we're all better off having Aleister Black doing stuff on television than not. He's sitting in a chair. He's surrounded by candles. He's reading from a book called Tales of the Dark Father, and he's wearing like these wire-rimmed, serial killer-like glasses. And he's reading from this book. I thought the segment was really well produced with these shadow puppets. I think that was really, really good. Now, the question that I had, or that I have, is, well, how long is this going to go, right? Hopefully it's not something that they stretch out for months, because Aleister Black gets all of his charm, and you understand how he's when you let him wrestle. Don't have him sit around cutting promos in the dark again for another few months. This is much more interesting, and they're putting some legitimate effort into these video packages because they're a media company, right? But yeah, let's not extend this too long. But I'm taking what I can at this point. Aleister Black back on TV, better than not. Man, Toni Storm lost to Zeta Rainier. I don't know how to pronounce it. AQA, right? On NXT this week. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, why is Toni Storm losing to newbies? It's like building new stars. I'm okay with that. But, they're doing the thing with Zoe Stark. It's fantastic. Like, that's the kind of thing you have to do. But you have to... Toni Storm hasn't won a singles match since, I think off the top of my head, since December last year. And I'm sure someone in the chat will check and correct me. But she hasn't won a singles match in such a long time. And she's losing to the new people. Again, not a problem. But she is looking like the gatekeeper of NXT for the women right now. She is looking like the gatekeeper, kind of a Cassius Ohno kind of situation that she has going right now. And it's kind of weird because they brought her in to sort of spice up the division, and she gets a title shot, and now she's elevating people like they don't want to do more with it. It's strange. And I've mentioned this multiple times on the stream. It's strange because there's something about her runs in WWE right now that aren't clicking. There's something that's just not working. And I've talked about this before, and I don't know why I can't put my finger on it. But there's something wrong with Toni Storm's WWE presence. It's as if they don't know what to do with her. And it's weird to me. And to be where she is right now, still extremely early in her career, she's in her mid-20s, being treated like a gatekeeper, it's very odd. It is very, very odd. Well, I'll tell you straight out the bat, I don't think the heel turn is working. I don't think it's good for her. Not in the way that WWE wants her to be a heel. And put it that. And yes, thank you very much. Hasn't won since December. That's what I thought. And since we're still talking about NXT, hey, you know what? MSK and Kushida versus Legado del Fantasma. This was a fantastic main event. It was really, really good. And I mean, it was a great build with a really dramatic finish. Everything started to break down for the babyfaces during this match after some stereotopes by MSK. Escobar powerbombed Kushida through the commentary table, and then Carter was whipped into the steps, and then Wesley, he eats all the triple team offense then back in the ring. In the meantime, there's medics checking on Kushida. I'm like, it's a commentary table spot. Let's chill the fuck out. I get it. He's not a big Sheamus type guy. So, he's smaller. Let's make sure that he didn't break in half over the table spoot. Okay, but I let it slide. The match ruled. And Carter finally gets the hot tag. Kushida comes in, gets murdered by a phantom driver by Escobar. And Wilde and Mendoza put MSK away. Great tag team match. Tag team, 6-man tag. But, Legado del Fantasma, a couple of months ago, you wouldn't really be considering them to be like, we're a tag team threat. They've polished off their tag team work severe. And it's good. Like, tag team action this is what I was hoping out of their Dusty Cup this year, that tag teams in NXT would return fiercer, stronger, get back. It'll never be I don't think, as high as it was, with the Revival and DIY and the Authors of Pain and American Alpha. That was an era where you had lightning in a bottle. But you have Legado, you have MSK, who are fantastic. They're great teams. You've got grizzled young veterans who are fantastic as well. You've got Killian Dane and Drake Maverick that, I think we sort of poo-poo because of the silliness sometimes but another good combination. They're teasing putting Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher into a duo as well. You still got Breezango hanging around. Look, there is lots of good stuff. Imperium, for fuck's sake. There's great tag teams in NXT right now. There's more reason to be excited about the tag team situation in NXT right now than there's been over the past 18 months, I'd say. It's good stuff. I really liked it. It was a good match. It was a good main event. I really liked it. I want to say hello to Heavy J, who just joined us in the chat. Let's talk about Dynamite. Hey, Hangman Page's streak is done. He got beaten by Brian Cage. Now, is it my time to eat crow here? Let's go ahead. I thought that he was going to hang on to this for a while. Like, this is how I felt the story was going to go. Adam Page was going to build up the wins, like secure a number one contender spot, like proper, something undeniable. They like the word undeniable in AEW, right? So they keep working at him. They keep pushing and pushing, and he's at the top. He's got this undefeated streak. And, Kenny Omega, whoever he defends the title against at Double or Nothing, he wins. And we start leading into All Out. And at All Out, you have Kenny Omega, who wants a shot at the title. Hangman Page is like, I want. Kenny Omega wants a challenger. Adam Page is like, well, I have an undefeated streak. I'm the number one guy. You have to give me the shot. Kenny Omega's like, nah. He plays the chicken shit like he's doing these days. But Adam Page is like, no, you can't deny me this request. I am the top guy in the company right now, kind of thing. Like, push Kenny's back against the wall where he cannot refuse or refute or rebut the title, right? Giving Hangman Page a shot at the title. That's where I thought they were going to go with this, and I thought it was a compelling story because, like I said last week, Hangman wrestling stories don't have to be complicated, and a streak is the kind of thing people get behind. Like, he's on a hot streak, and you look at this guy, and you're like, holy shit, he's on the streak. And it's like week after week, he's like, he won another one. He won another one. And that's a really easy way to get someone over, especially someone like Adam Page, who was super charismatic and already a very natural babyface. Not a hard thing to do. So I was surprised, but then I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad that Brian Cage won because Brian Cage needs to get some big wins. Brian Cage has to stop looking like just a big dude, a big fool. He has to start scoring the wins. Right here. This was a big win. He broke the streak. It's not like WrestleMania Brock Lesnar big, but still, he got a win over a guy where people were like, Page is going to win. This was the general consensus. I don't think anyone really had Brian Cage is going to go over here. It was a big surprise. They were calling it an upset. And and it's good. And it's good for Brian Cage. So if the streak was good for anything, it was good for getting Brian Cage over a little more. Making him come off as the beast that he really is. Because what a fucking performance he put on. That was a great match. The streak, if there's one streak that AEW has, it's hot opening matches on Wednesdays. That's undeniable. And what a great opening match this was. Now, again, it's hard to see without seeing the entire plan, right? Hard to see if this was a good move or not, but we're going to see where this goes. Let's talk about this in a few months' time. We'll circle back around and we'll see. Was this a good move? Did Brian Cage benefit or not? Let's see. Anakin left a super chat, and I'm glad he did because I wanted to lead into this. He says, "Play the song for Page's career being dead now." Right? It's like, get along, little Pagey. Your streak is now dead. It's time for you to head home and lay down your head. Your career is in shambles just because of one loss. Welcome to Twitter, where no one has just cause. Something like that. The thing that completely blew my mind is the number of people who have rot brain and were like, Adam Page's career is dead. They buried him. He's done. And I'm like, are people serious right now? Killed off his momentum. He's completely... If there is one guy who is bulletproof on that fucking roster, it's Hangman Adam Page. Yeah, I would have liked the streak to continue. But am I sitting around going, well, Adam Page, he's doomed. He's doomed to failure. No, he's not. How? Makes him look weak. What? Did you see the match? Like, the only possible reason why anyone would be like, Adam Page looks weak now is because people are reading the results off of Twitter or their favorite wrestling blog apparatus, and they are looking at the results, did not watch the match, and are reacting out of bad faith. Those are the only reasons why anyone would say, you cannot have watched that match and say Adam Page is over. He lost to Brian fucking Cage, who is an animal, a beast. an absolute monster who put on a monster performance last night. You're like, nah, man, Brian Cage he was just on another level. It's just that simple. Rut brain. This is WWE brain, where it's like, oh, well, he lost clean to a guy, so he's back to catering with him. See, that's the WWE way of seeing things. But Jesus fucking Christ. See, how do you lose? He loses to Brian Cage, and people are literally saying, terrible booking, worst of it. Again, let's circle back. Let's circle all the way back to this in a couple of months. And maybe, just maybe, I'll say, you know what? All of you who are telling me that Adam Page's career was done, yeah, y'all were right. Maybe. But I highly doubt it. You didn't like my song? Yeah, y'all, you paid for a song. I gave you a song. Hey, the Jade Cargill angle. The Jade Cargill angle of managers scrambling to scoop her up rules. It rules. Now, this is the kind of thing I 100% get behind, because it's not something that we've seen in decades. Because, and okay, it makes Cargill look like the star that they want her to be. Makes her come across as the big get. This is the one that everyone is angling for. Everyone is trying to, it's making meetings and, shifting moves to try and get her. That is fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. And do you know why this, okay, so, and it works because of how they're positioning her. They're keeping her on TV, continuing to push her while she continues to polish herself off in the ring and eventually be able to guide matches on her own. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Makes me want to see who's going to put their money into Jade Cargill. Who's going to be the big money guy or gal who's going to do this? And do you know why this is why do you know why AEW can do this? Do you know why they're able to do this? Because there's factions. Because there's leaders of these factions. There's managers in AEW. There are groups within this organization who are working together. And they want Jade Cargill to be a part of their group. All of these geeks telling us there's too many factions in AEW. It's so confusing. It's just people hanging around with each other. You've got storyline motive that is being created for a wrestler thanks to this environment that they created. You got Vicky Guerrero, Matt Hardy, Team Taz. Let's throw in the Pinnacle. Let's throw in Inner Circle. QT Marshall's group. Everyone. This is working because there are the elite. Let's toss in the elite in here too. Don Callis's group. Christ, even John Moxley has a group. But they're two. It's two a group. It's a duo. When does a group graduate from? When does a pairing? Or hang on. When does a group become a group? At what? 3? But then it's a trio. Anyway. That's why it works, and that's why I love this. I don't remember seeing this, and I've been racking my brain because I legitimately think the last time I saw an angle like this was in the 90s, and I'm trying to remember who was this free agent that all the heel managers wanted to gobble up. I don't remember, and this would not work in WWE because there are no managers. So, what are we getting? We're getting a fresh angle. We're getting something fun. We're getting something different. I can get behind different. I can get behind trying shit out. And it's going to do wonders for Jade. Wonders. I love this shit. Love it. Was it Bam Bam Bigelow? I think so, right? Where they had like Mr. Fuji and Bobby Heenan and everyone was sort of... I think so. Evan Wright left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Evan. He says, but Warren, too many factions confuses the casual. I know. My God, how could they ever understand the precepts of professional wrestling? It's such an intricate and tightly woven sect. Oh. Let's keep on going. The Pinnacle promo. I mean, I was excited for the Blood and Guts match, but that parlay segment that they did last night sold me a ticket to it. That was amazing. And I'm going to tell you who sold me a ticket to it. I'm going to let you guess. I'm going to let you guess who sold me a ticket to this. Because a whole bunch of guys talked last night. Chat, who do you think sold me a ticket from that whole parlay thing last night? And I'll just recap it real quick. See, they were supposed to have an exchange, a back and forth, a debate to decide, and there was to be the coin flip, which is something that they did back in War Games to see who would get the one man advantage throughout the War Games match, right? Because you start with one, but then you add one person. So who would always have that one man advantage throughout the match? Sean Spears takes the microphone and says, we're not doing no coin flip. We're taking the advantage because we were lured into this match. Sammy Guevara has a great promo and he says, I'll even start. Okay, you want to do this? Spears, you were a failure here. And on top of that, you were a failure at the place you used to work. I'll start the match. You want to get the one-man advantage? I'll even start the match. Hell, I'll start with the popcorn guy. And I'm saying to myself, Sammy, if you're a babyface now, you can't fight the popcorn guy. The babyfaces don't fight the popcorn guy. They really don't. So Sammy, Cash Wheeler calls Santana and Ortiz complacent, soft Jericho lapdogs. Dax the Axe cuts a fucking great promo about telling the guys to tell their kids that they're not coming back home. Got Pride and Powerful all fired up. And then, of course, MJF and Jericho have a great exchange. And yeah, it was FTR, guys. It was FTR that got it. It was Dax Harwood. He was so good in that delivery. And do you know why? And I'll tell you why it even went over Jericho and MJF for me. Because Jericho and MJF, they're power playing each other. It's not a question of beating the shit out of each other. It's just like MJF is like, no, I'm going to take your spot. Jericho says, you need to earn my spot, blah, blah, blah. But Dax was telling the dudes in front of him, you guys are fathers. You need to tell your kids before you fly out to Jacksonville that you are not coming home. That you are going to die in that ring because of me. That is vile. It is violent. It is visceral. It's shit that I can relate to as a dad. If a guy is telling me, you better kiss your daughter and tell her that you're never going to see her again. I'm like, Jesus, fuck off, man. It's like, but that's why we have blood and guts. That's why they're locking themselves up in a cage. They want to tear each other apart. They want to beat the shit out of each other. They want to be violent with each other. That's what got me. And even while MJF, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, while MJF and Jericho were having their exchange, Dax was still talking shit to Pride and Powerful. Not the whole way through, but there were moments where he was like, I'm like, I love this. It's like he hates these guys so much. And I thought it was fantastic. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want you to be, what, Warren, are you saying that you didn't like the MJF Jericho stuff? No, I did. For other reasons. It's still good. They're not fighting for the same reasons that Dax is going in there for. Dax is going in there to beat people up. He's going in there to murder people. He's got murder on the mind. If that doesn't give you the injection 2K, the injection of adrenaline to just be like, yeah, give me this match and make it happen. Fucking great. And I'm going to tell you, I wasn't looking forward to this because all of the previous, the Inner Circle is going to do this and talk about that and do this press conference and do a debate. And I'm like I thought it was going to be a little corny, but it turned out it wasn't. And it felt like it was supposed to feel. Felt like a match. Felt like these guys are on the verge of ripping each other's arms off and beating each other with the bloody stumps. And that's what the match is supposed to be about. It's not going to be pretty next week. People are going to bleed. It's going to be violent. If it's not, then we'll have it's going to be a missed opportunity. And I don't know, another thing that I noticed, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, well, we talk about promos these days. You know, we use the term promo, and as soon as someone cuts an interview, right? Like, it's a promo. But a promo, you know, I've talked about this before. Promo is short for promotion. You're supposed to promote something. Did you notice the number of times that each guy mentioned on May 5th, blood and guts? On May 5th, blood and guts. I got shivers. I was like, I am watching, you know, Macho Man with Mean Gene cutting his promo saying, on October 22nd at the Montreal Forum, Raymond Rougeau, you're going down, you know, kind of thing. It was so old school. It was perfect. And that's the thing with AEW, and this is the things, like, it hits what I like about pro wrestling because it feels like a pro wrestling show. There's things that don't hit as well. There's things that don't hit as well. You know, I would say that the main event, I thought the post-match angle was a little dry. I don't think it was. I don't think it connected this week. You know, I feel like we've seen this 2 weeks in a row now, and they're like, you know, Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page, come out, beat up, Sting, the Lance Archer, and I'm like, we need a story bump now. You know, it's like it's sort of treading water a little bit here. But Jesus, when AEW connects, it connects, and it connected. It was really good. Are we done with the weekly wrestling inspection? I do believe we are. It was a fun show tonight. I really enjoyed it. And very quickly, I just saw a comment here in the chat. Don't get me confused. As much as I enjoyed the parlay, which I will always, and despite the fact that I thought that the main event angle, the post match, that I thought that the post match angle at the main event wasn't so. Don't get me wrong. I will always take a match in my main event segment over a promo thing. Every time. I'm not bitching. I'm just saying the parlay where it was in the show, perfect stuff. Yeah, I've talked about Yuji Nagata earlier on the show when we were talking about crossovers. Don't worry, I talked about it. Just very quickly before we wrap it up, there's something that popped up earlier this week that not a lot of people are talking about, but I think will have some very interesting repercussions, especially in this era of crossovers. CMLL announced this Tuesday that their alliance with Ring of Honor had come to an end. I'm taking these story bits off of Post Wrestling and luchablog.com. CMLL said that they'd focus on continuing to provide the best lucha libre in the world and thanked Ring of Honor for their work together since 2016. Now, this is very interesting because the relationship that CMLL had with Ring of Honor was a little touchy, right? It was a little touchy when Rush, after winning the Ring of Honor championship, announced that he was leaving CMLL, right? And then CMLL fired Rush and Dragon Lee, who's his real life brother. They're blood related. So they fired Rush and Dragon Lee as a retaliatory measure. And then apparently they also tried to get New Japan and Ring of Honor to force Rush and Dragon Lee to not use their CMLL names, right? And, New Japan didn't give a shit about Rush. They weren't using them, but, I guess they kind of caved in. He caved in. New Japan got Dragon Lee to cave in. That's why he's called Ryu Lee now. And so it's been a very tenuous relationship, right? So that's come apart, which is a shame to a certain degree, but I think that this had been coming, right? And right now, all of these Rush, they're all taking part in a new promotion, from what I'm gathering, called Federation Wrestling. And they've announced a pay-per-view, or a show anyway, an event in June, this Federation Wrestling. And right now, they've announced a bunch of names. Got Rush, Ryu Lee, got Penta, El Zero M, got Rey Fenix, Bandito, Bestia del Ring, Bandito. I said Bandito, I'll say him twice. Bandito. Even got Ray Horace. And weirdly enough, Matt Taven. So it looks like it's all the old Ring of Honor, all the former CMLL guys who've been working over at Ring of Honor are moving on to this promotion here, which is coming out a bit of nowhere. Now, they being that the Federation is doing a press conference this Friday, virtual press conference. They haven't announced when. Friday is tomorrow. And we don't even know who's behind this promotion. No one has stepped forward. Apparently, according to Lucha Blog, the talk is that it's a concert promoter who's moving into wrestling for the first time. So what they're doing, again, according to Lucha Blog, doing the press conference, announcing big names, makes sense for a concert promoter. If you're going to run a festival, you're going to get all the biggest names. And then trickle down and you announce the names and then you're like, on night 1, Florence and the Machine. Night 2, Kendrick Lamar. Night 3, Oasis. Come to my festival, guys. It's another place to work in Mexico. And I don't know. And, clearly, lapping up some of CMLL's top talent in the process. So this, to a certain degree, is a kind of a shots fired type of situation. So I'm really interested in seeing how this is going to work out. And how this is going to work out with New Japan as well. You know, back in February, New Japan and CMLL issued a statement together saying that their partnership is steady, you know, because they hadn't run any shows over COVID because, you know, international waters and flights and all that, you know. So they just wanted to reassure everyone, hey, you know, we're still good here. So, you know, I don't think that New Japan is shutting the door and being like, hey, you know what, Hiromu Dragon Lee? Nah, it's not happening anymore. I don't think we're gonna get that unless fucking Hiromu can't keep himself healthy anymore. Son of a bitch. But yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting story to be following, and I think everyone should keep their eyes on this. In this era of forbidden doors being broken down, and this is it's kind of a big deal, you know. It'll be a bigger deal than Andrade fighting fucking Alberto Del Rio. Can you believe that? Did you see that? Alberto Del Rio, Alberto El Patron, whatever his fucking real name is. He goes on, he hits the social media and he announces that he's fighting Andrade in Texas in June. Son of a bitch has a court date next week, because let's not forget he's being he was arrested for sexual assault and forcible kidnapping. Like, these are felonies. Like, this is jail time level felonies. And Andrade confirmed it on one of his social medias, Instagram. Look, and he confirmed that this is going to be his first match leaving WWE, and I'm like, why? But even before all of that, why are we booking Alberto Del Rio in any wrestling promotion? And these are the moments where I'm like, speaking out. No one has learned anything from speaking out. No one has learned about creating an environment where wrestling can be better, where people will be treated safely, and where legit pieces of shit will not be allowed a spot to continue and have this sort of redemption. And don't get me wrong, I'm not confusing everything. I'm just, Patron didn't get called out on speaking out on Twitter by someone who accused him of something. No, this guy was arrested by his girlfriend. Said he locked me up, sexually assaulted her. I won't go into the details. This guy has a court date for that on Monday, I think, or Tuesday, at the beginning of the week. And oh yeah, let's book shows with him. There's a bunch of stuff that happened in wrestling this week that I didn't have the energy to go through because I was disappointed. I was just disappointed in wrestling and how people just never seem to learn. And I don't want to spend another 15 minutes talking about Alberto Del Rio and he created the situation for himself. He's trash. Teddy Hart, same thing with he's trash. The GCW people, they reacted accordingly. I love wrestling. I love pro wrestling. And I think everyone should have the opportunity to thrive in something that they love to do, the talent, in environments where they don't feel threatened, or they feel like they're working with shady people, that they can work with upright people, that everyone will be able to be elevated, right? That everyone will be able to just do what they love in a safe environment, in a good environment. You're not going to get along with everyone. I mean, there's a difference between being an asshole and being a criminal, you know? And when I see things like Patron happen, and he has a history, like Anakin JMT left a super chat mentioning, he says, let's not forget what he did to Paige. F him. Exactly. Like, this is a pattern of behavior. You continue giving him these opportunities, these enabling moments, he's going to continue. Look, if there's any justice, he'll be locked up before the fight. But, and yeah, I can talk about how disappointed in Andrade I am too. I mean, that takes the wind out of my sails a little bit. Not gonna lie. Anyway, we're gonna wrap things up with a super chat from DGMC, who says Adam Page's yacht sailing shorts ruined it for me. Oh, you're so sensitive, Snowflake. Oh, we're gonna wrap it up on that note, folks. Thank you everyone for joining me today on another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. If you're watching this on demand right now, leave a comment below. Let's get up to 20 comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed this to this very point, because that's also very awesome. Thank you. I can't thank you guys and gals enough for joining me this evening and for listening. Hope you have a great rest of your week. See you next time.